Tens of thousands of football fans came to Highbury. Electrifying!
Yes, guys, welcome back to the Cannon Podcast and another episode of Scouted, this time on Liam Delap. No George today. He's got his PhD defence, so we wish him the very best with that. So I'm very excited to say we're joined by Alex Barker from The Athletic. Hello, good sir.
Hello. I'm very happy to be here. It's an honour.
Mate, pleasure. We just did an hour looking at clips of Liam Delap. It was really interesting. Great. Obviously, George is fantastic. It's great to get a different perspective on things and different way of looking at players and stuff. Just quickly, sort of your background and stuff, what you do at The Athletic and stuff, if people don't know you.
Yes, so I am a videographer at The Athletic. You might have seen me on camera working with the wonderful John McKenzie, JJ Ball, Joe Devine. I'm lucky enough to... Basically, if you see an Athletic video, it's likely I'm presenting it or I'm maybe the guy editing it amongst the rest of our team as well, who are all very, very talented, more so than me. But yeah, that's my background at the moment. Been working there for 2 years. Other than that, mainly self-taught in football, just trying to work hard, learn from some good mentors like Mr. John and trying to continue to give insight at the highest level.
We've been very humble. I think your myth-busting, I can't say that phrase, your myth-busting threads on X are really, really good. And the one that caught my attention was about Liam Delap, so that's what we're here to talk about today. So Liam Delap, I think there's not like loads of massive links to Arsenal, but I think he's sort of worth talking about. He's one of the strikers in the frame, I guess, to talk about for this summer. If you don't know Delap, where you been? But he spent basically 10 years at Derby County. Then he went to Man City for a year in their academy. Then got promoted to their first team. Made 2 appearances, but mostly was out on loan at Stoke, Preston North End, and Hull. And then made a switch permanently to Ipswich Town last summer. We'll look at data. We'll look at the sort of the conversation around is he maybe right for Arsenal, where he sort of fits into this category for us in the summer. But as a headline, could you just give us basically your strengths and weaknesses for Delap? What you see he's great at, what you see maybe he could work on. Yes,
I think it's funny. Like you said, we've done the scouted bit before, so I think maybe I'm actually feeling more positive than when we sat down today. But generally, his strengths, I think, are his strength, his physicality in all areas. So his pace, his ability to resist pressure, his ability in the air, generally his agility and mobility for someone of his size. This is someone who I think in the physicality section of scouting just ticks all the notes, really, with some minor caveats. I think the other major strength is the power he can get on his shots. It just means he can bulldoze shots in from like angles and areas where you wouldn't expect other players maybe to finish. In terms of the headline weaknesses, at the moment, I think it's his technical ability in terms of passing and his first touch. It can be quite loose. And that's for a team like Ipswich, where you often has a lot of space to play with. So if you're thinking of scaling him up to a big team, you're probably expecting to lose the ball a lot. There's also the fouls. He's committing 2.5 fouls a game because he's just way too aggressive, using his body too much. And it's very frustrating. Stop giving away free kicks, please, Liam Delap. And there's some other couple minor weaknesses as well. But like the main minor weakness we should touch on is the fact that while he can get a lot of power in his shots, he can't really curl them very easily. As you coined a minute ago, he can't do the R1 circle, which is the best way of summarising it.
That's my level of analysis. I do you know what? I went into this, obviously I've seen Delap, but I hadn't maybe focused on him sort of in isolation, which is what's great. I mean, if you want to check out the clips, please do from the link down below, because it's just really good to see things and you kind of break them down by playlist. Alex even showed me how to use Y Scout better, and I was shocked. But yeah, it's a really good way of looking at it. And do you know what? I was really surprised by. There is stuff to work on in this game, as you mentioned, in terms of the finesse shot and maybe some link-up stuff. But I think a lot of, in terms of the translation, we looked at Ipswich. If he had more runners around him, the physical stuff, the ability to hold contact off and create some separation is really impressive. It's really impressive for a 22-year-old guy who, and for example, even the leap. He leaps like a salmon. It's crazy. Like he's got a crazy leap on him. So physically, I think, people talk about, whether it's Sheshko or whoever it is in terms of the physical qualities in Europe. I think Liam Delap he's got some there. Even there was a clip sort of nearly towards the end. I was looking at him. I was like, bit of Haaland about this, the way he sort of strides through the ground. He's maybe not the quickest. He's maybe not, he's not the tallest or whatever, but he really knows how to use his body. And I think maybe the headline for me coming away from it, the thing I took is his reading of the game. He really reads it really well in terms of he's just a second quicker than you. There's obviously the clip of Chalobah that's gone around. We sort of reads the movement, but I think that really helps him in terms of using his body, getting across people, getting to balls early. There's a lot to like about Liam Delap. Before we come to, could he translate to Arsenal? Let's have a look at his numbers then. So these are from Scott Willis. This is Liam Delap's all-round forward radar and distribution in terms of his Premier League performances. Not, fairly middle of the road, but I think we were sort of talking about this in terms of what you expect from a player who is at the start of his career, 22 at Ipswich. How much do you sort of put the Ipswich caveat on Liam Delap?
Yeah, you cannot separate the context of Ipswich, as you were saying, from the numbers we're seeing. Like, if you were seeing this out of context, you'd be like, meh, that's kind of mid, actually. Even if he's young, I don't see the room to grow. But like going around, for example, just this chart, like non-penalty goals, like the XG, like this is someone who Ipswich are going to be taking, not sure it's the fewest shots in the league. That's probably reserved for Southampton. But they are down there. They're a team who really struggle to get up the pitch because they're essentially a championship squad playing in the Premier League, more so than the other promoted teams, I would say. And that means that Delap is going to get fewer opportunities to shoot. It also means when he does shoot, as we discovered looking at the clips, right, he's someone who feels he needs to take shots from bad places or bad locations because it might just be Ipswich's best chance of getting a goal, their objective to score. So that means his XG is going to be quite low. As a result, his goals are going to be quite low. His XG per shot is also going to be quite low. Like the other areas as well, we see of his passing too. Like Ipswich aren't going to dominate the ball. To get the ball up to Delap, it's either going to have to be a long ball or they're going to have to play through the press. And that's something they're going to find more difficult than a lot of other teams. So, yeah, you cannot separate the context of Ipswich. Like something you mentioned as well that I hadn't considered as much is just the runners and the patterns. Delap, it felt like every time he's on the attack, players around him are in different positions. So he doesn't know if I go, maybe he doesn't know, like, if I turn here and just kick it straight to the back post, I know Hutchinson's going to be there, for example. Like, he's almost having to improvise all the time, and it means he's doing very well on a very bad team.
Yeah, and I won't repeat who I said that might benefit. But yeah, a more structured attack, I think it is a big thing for these sorts of players, and it will come on to sort of the Arsenal of it all in a second. But I think, knowing I have that ball to the back post, or knowing I have that runner at the far stick. I mean, a lot of the time you said, and I think it's right, he's playing hero ball. So to be fair, I mean, even to get mid numbers in the Premier League, I think is pretty good. Let's move on to the shot map just quickly before we come on to Arsenal. I probably saw a lot of drifting to the left in the clips, but you've obviously watched him more than me, and you seem to think that's not necessarily a massive theme. I think maybe the omission of Omari Hutchinson for Ipswich at the back end of the season, I think has been big for them. And obviously we're seeing on the shot map here, he seems to get a fair distribution, and there's a lot in the box, which I like. And for a team who maybe need more of a penalty box striker, I think he can definitely be that as well.
Yeah, I think there is a lot in the box. There's still obviously quite a lot from outside the box, and that goes back to what we were talking about, Delap. I think now this is the point where we can critique him and say, okay, he is playing at a bad team. We can understand why he does shoot from range, but he probably needs to eliminate a lot of these shots from bad positions out from his game. Like we were seeing, there's times where there's a good runner on his left or right side, and he's got his head down, and he's got one thing in his mind. He wants to shoot straight into the defender in front of him and get a blocked shot. And it's like, come on, Delap, there's other things he can do. But you like to highlight the positives, as you said, like there's some really good locations on these shots, and that comes down to his movement, like we were talking about before. He's someone who's very active. He can he can change from a back post run to a near post run in an instant if he needs to, and it means he can get in between defenders quite well. So yeah, someone who's getting a lot of high quality shots off. For sure.
Let's come to Liam Delap and Arsenal. Alex, people have heard my opinions about Arsenal strikers sickening amounts of time, so I'll leave the floor for you here. From an outsider's perspective, because you're a true neutral, which I found out earlier, which is insane, and I maybe don't believe you, but so you're biased against Arsenal, obviously. What do you see as Arsenal's problem? Because it kind of, Arsenal need a number 9, and that is a headline. do Arsenal, from your perspective, need more shots or more goals or a different profile? Like, what? How do you sum up that from an external perspective?
Having to remember, we're not on the long section of today. This is the short bit. Okay, so in the simplest way that's not going to offend Arsenal fans without giving extra context, I do think Arsenal need a 9. You probably also need like another creative player, I think a left-sided midfielder or something that's spoken about, but that's a different conversation because how you configure the midfield is interesting, let's say, going forward. And there's debate at the moment on whether Zubimendi is even right for Arsenal because of how you're going to construct things. Yeah. But I guess in the thing with Arsenal, Arteta, the way I'm looking at it is, okay, you found a way to generate chances against low blocks. It's essentially low quality shots, but quantity of them. Like, we're going to prioritise those back post crosses. It's like the set pieceification of Arsenal. So yes, okay, Arsenal could become more creative, but it doesn't mean that a striker for Arsenal, it means the striker for Arsenal still has to be someone who's going to add value on those crosses, add value on set pieces ideally, and is going to play into the way they currently play and just maybe add a few more strings to the bow. I mean, there is an argument to say you could go down the Gabriel Jesus route, but I don't know if there's a striker who exists in that mould. I'm just saying that because when I did some quite heavy research on Arsenal fairly recently, I went back and watched all of your goals you'd scored over the last 3 seasons. And it's like crazy the difference Gabriel Jesus made when he was fit. Like, what a wonderful footballer he is. Yeah. But yeah, to that answer your question, like what Arsenal need in a striker, I think it is that physicality, ability to take advantage of crosses, and maybe, like you say as well, like try and add a bit more direct play into them. Someone who can stretch the back line and make runs, because I guess that's something that Kai Havertz he can do, but he isn't the quickest player. He's just more intelligent in his runs. So raw physicality, I think, is a big thing Arsenal are looking for. I
think so, and I think people know my summation of all this is it's a skills gap. It's not, I think people, it's not numbers, it's whatever. We have skills missing from our forward line in terms of stretching the back line, in terms of someone who can create separation in the penalty box, in terms of someone who takes on more shots. There's a lot of, in that attacking group, Bukayo Saka can basically do everything, but outside of him there's not limited profiles but quite specific profiles, I would say, in a Martinelli and a Kai Havertz, and even in a Gabriel Jesus or a Trossard. I think the physicality thing is massive. Okay, just ignoring Delap for a second, we'll come to him, because I do think, well, I'll spoil it for people. I don't think Delap on his own is going to fix Arsenal's problems. And to be honest, I don't think anyone watching feels that. But I do think with a £30 million release clause, with a year in the Premier League, with the background he has at Manchester City, and I think a lot of the stuff that we saw in the scouted clips, which we liked, there is something there, maybe in combination with someone else, which I don't hate. When you look around Europe, is there a player, and you can't say Alexander Isak, is there a player that you look at and go, yeah, you make sense for Arsenal. You click. I doubt it's going to be Liam Delap, but maybe you can put him in there if you want.
It's tricky because the striker market is so tough. Like, the short answer is no. There's not a player who fixes Arsenal's problems. I need to scout Isak definitely, but I doubt even he's the guy who would immediately solve all Arsenal's problems, because it's a complex issue. But I think beyond Isak, each striker has their own strengths and weaknesses. So Benjamin Sesko, for example, he's someone who I really like as well. Like we're talking about power on shots, best in the world probably. But he's also like a striker lacking in maturity. He's someone who will probably frustrate Arsenal, who just takes shots from very bad positions. And I'm scratching my memory here, but I think there are a few other issues with him, like link up play wise as well. Maybe that, like, again, it's like, are you right for Arsenal at the moment? There's Ugo Ekitike, that a player I really like, despite like my reputation now of hating him. And the reason I have that reputation is because I'm very keen to point out he's someone thriving in a very direct transitional side. And I feel like if you put him in Arsenal and you can't recreate those direct transitional conditions, then you have a striker whose best strengths are kind of limited. I feel like Gyökeres as well is someone, like, I haven't watched him as much as you actually, but like from the bits I have watched, I agree with your assessment. I think there's like a lot to be concerned about with him, even though there's like the physicality is something to be excited about, and the goal scoring record is impressive, but still, like, there's caveats to all of these players. So it comes down to what you're saying. Like you mentioned, I mean, it's an extension of what you're saying. You said to me that you doubt Liam Delap. I would say Liam Delap would come in and solve all of Arsenal's problems. I'd go further and say I doubt any striker would come in and not even just the cliche solve all of Arsenal's problems. I don't think they come close to solving all of Arsenal's problems. They'd go some way to help, but there's no perfect striker out there right now that will help you generate higher quality chances on a regular basis. They'll help you finish the lower quality ones, but more needs to come. And I think depending on which striker you sign, it changes the sort of player maybe you sign for a left wing, for example, just to pick a random position, right? Like, I guess if it's Delap, for example, maybe you want someone who's a very, very good crosser off the left, because we've seen Delap, he can bully players in the box. He's got very good movement. Maybe if it's Sesko, who tends to drop deeper a little bit and like I think likes to have space in front of goal to power shots, maybe you have more of an inside forward player off the left. So yeah, there's a lot of issues to this, and there is no striker, I would say, comes close to solving Arsenal's problems.
I unfortunately think you're right. I think that's why there's so much debate around it, because sometimes there is just, when that time we were signing Declan Rice, it's like, that just go and get Declan Rice. Like that is the answer. Like, to our issues in the end of 22-23. And
so I would say as well, just mentioning Rice, I think something Arsenal have done, I don't know if you agree, but I feel like something Arsenal have done is buy players and then think about how to fit them in later. So Havertz and Rice, perfect examples. Like, let's sign the best defensive midfielder in the world, Declan Rice. Let's sign someone who was one of the best wonderkids in the world, Kai Havertz, and could play as a midfielder. Oh, he doesn't really work out at left eight. And actually, I think Rice is better at left eight. So we'll play Havertz up front and Rice on the left. And it's an issue. Like, I think this is a problem Arteta has faced. And I just wanted to say that because I think whatever striker you sign needs to come first before you sign anybody else.
Yeah, and I think you're right that Arteta does. It's difficult because, like, for example, I saw this clip of someone, and I can't remember who it was, but someone was sort of going, he signed Ben White as a centre back, he ends up being a right back, and he signs Kai Havertz as a centre mid, and he ends up being a centre forward, and isn't that a problem? And you could sort of go both ways. You could say, well, he's found solutions. That's a great thing. Or you could say, actually, he's just signed someone he likes and sort of thought about it later, which is sort of what you're saying. And I think you could sort of spin it both ways. I think realistically, yeah, we're not going to solve Arsenal's attacking problems right now. But I think maybe to surmise it, it's basically, for me, do you lean more into what Arsenal already do and get better at it? Or do you add different skills that we currently don't have? Do you lean more into the transition? I don't know if you're probably you're certainly not as much of a nerd on high transition numbers to Arsenal as me. Almost certainly, maybe you are, who knows? But there's like, if you look at our transition numbers in terms of converting high turnovers into shots, we're so far down in terms of the volume of high turnovers we have in creating them into shots. So for me, shot volume is a massive thing, just taking more shots and the chaos that can bring. But I guess really the fundamental question for Arsenal is, do you lean more into order or do you lean more into chaos? And I want us to lean into chaos. And just to kind of bring it back to Liam Delap, I think Delap could be a part of a solution, but as you say, I don't think he's a whole solution. And really, maybe the more interesting question, something we're going to have to answer come the summer and see what happens, is whether Arteta takes his hand out of the attackers and just goes, okay, I'm just going to put you in the best positions, Ancelotti style, and let you do what you do, or he leans more into, right, I'm going to put you in more cutback situations. I'm going to put you in more situations where you're not shooting from the edge of the box. You're not allowed to, express yourself particularly. I'm just going to make it more and more predictable. And I pray he does the first. I think Liam Delap might work for the second, actually a little bit more. But yeah, it's a massive thing, and I don't think anyone can predict it really, which is another thing. Let's close out on Liam Delap then, and close out on this. A good player with a lot there, but I don't think anyone, as you say, is going to solve all of Arsenal's issues. Yeah,
I think that's absolutely true, and something we were saying, I might have said at the end of the last section, forgive me if I'm repeating it here, but like, I think if Arsenal signed Delap, it's a statement saying we don't think we're favourites to win the league next season, but we think we can challenge very hard in like 2-3 years, and we think Delap can be the guy who leads the line at that point. And I think that would be, I imagine, disappointing for you to hear, but football does work in cycles. Liverpool are a team who kind of had a bit of a dip and then came back up since their 1920 title win. They're obviously going to win now. I think that'd be perfectly fine. Like take for Arsenal, it upset the fans, but I think every Arsenal fan accepts, especially the fact they've brought a new sporting director, that a bit of a rebuild is on. So maybe if you can't land, if we're in the 99% of realities where Alexander Isak doesn't come to Arsenal this summer, sorry.
Ouch.
And then you can't get maybe Gyökeres. He isn't able to come to Arsenal. You can't get the top targets, basically what I'm saying. Then signing Delap and just having a little bit more of a medium-term outlook, I think is fine.
Yeah, I think Arsenal fans would be beyond gutted if it was just Delap and no one else.
Yes, of course.
I think, and also I just can't see that happening for Arteta, because I think based on his comments in January and stuff, I think we're so ready for that win now group, whether it's Delap plus or whether it's Ekitike plus or it's Williams and Semenyo or Šeško and Semenyo, whatever it ends up being. But I think we're so ready for that. And maybe Delap can be part of that, but we shall see. If you want to check out the scouting clips, you can do so from the link in the description. You can get that on a free trial on Patreon for 7 days, or you can get it through YouTube memberships. And if you want to check out you, Alex, where should they go?
Oh, they can go to X/Twitter and type in @EuroExpert, and they'll find me there. That name will be changing soon because I'm aware of how annoying it has become. And you can go to TikTok as well, but mainly go to The Athletic and find my lovely ginger face over there as well. I've just spoken about Inter Milan in the video. You can go and check that out.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Alex. Really appreciate it. Thank you all for watching, and thanks for keeping it Arsenal.